Everyone, it's your girl Matt here, aka Beaver Mosh. Today I'm joined by Ross Sewage of Impaled and Exumed, who with Impaled is putting out, well, has put out Demo Medicale, which is an unreleased demo that dates back before the Mondo Medicale release from 2002. Ross, thank you so much for joining me today. How is your evening treating you?
Cheers. So far so good. Got home from work a little early and sipping on a nice cocktail. So,
Hell yeah,
and
what are you sipping
meeting
on?
with you, Beaver Mosh. So, what could I can't ask for anything better.
What are we sipping on?
An old fashioned,
Hell yeah. I also just got back from work, so we share that.
as it is. Yes,
Yeah.
none of us are rich enough from death metal yet to not work.
No. Um, so as I mentioned in kind of the introduction, Demo Medicale, it's old. It was recorded in 2002 before you put out your full length Mondo Medicale.
Yes,
Why now? Why in 2025, 23 years later, is it time to finally give this to the public?
because we found it 23 years later.
Yeah.
That's the whole the long and short of it is we got it, and none of neither Sean nor Raul or I had a copy. And the story, as it goes, is a couple years back, Sean was got a text message from our former guitar player Andrew Labar, who mixed, engineered, wrote material on Mondo Medicale and the one after choice cuts, Medical Waste,
Yeah.
and toured with us. And he contacted Sean and said, "Hey, do you guys have a copy of these demos?" And Sean was like, "What demos? Like, I don't really kind of forgot. Like in stacks and stacks of CDRs that have gotten thrown away through the years. All of us must have gotten rid of it at some point. But
Yeah.
Andrew still had a copy and wanted to pass it on to Sean and said, come on over. And then Sean got it from Andrew's wife and he said Andrew wasn't feeling well, just wanted to pass on the CD. And he's like, okay. And took it home and listened to it. It was really good. And we were like, wow, this is actually kind of phenomenal and conveniently not under any kind of ownership by any label. Was we have problems with Mondo Medicale and then the strange or circumstance of events that happened was then Andrew passed away like a few months later because due to complications with ALS, and I guess his condition has grown a lot more serious than he had like ever let on or talked about with anybody in our camp. And so we kind of felt like, wow, that's kind of heavy. Like, did he know? Did he realize like I got to get this passed on? And we're like sat on it for like a couple of years, like kind of wondering, like, well, maybe I guess we should put this out. Like, he obviously wanted us to have it, and it's something to put out to remember him by, and the work that he brought, and the voice he brought to Impaled, and then kind of gifted us with this the best way we can put out any Mondo Medicale material legally speaking without re-recording it, which none of us wants to do.
Yeah. Um, Now you mentioned Andrew. This release is dedicated to Andrew, a guitarist that played in your band that passed away in 2022. What do you want people to remember about Andrew through the release of this recording?
Well, that Andrew joined the band after Leon left, and he was like, like a local musician, and we liked his band a lot that he had been jamming with, and we are like, wow, okay, like he could be a good fit. And he kind of came in and like blew us all away with his songwriting was top notch, and totally understood like where we wanted to go, and like you know not in any kind of like drill sergeant way, but in a very inspiring way, kind of whipped our asses to become like a little bit better to keep up with him.
Mm.
And then, he was also kind of always kind of considered, impaled the metal band with a punk ethos. Like we want to do everything ourselves. We do like we've done our art ourselves and anything we can manage like under our personal skill set, we try to do ourselves. And Andrew like jumped right in that, and that's what the demo shows. He had done like some kind of like a little bit of recording with other bands, and he did that demo on an 8-track mini disc player, which is like insane that he was able to get that much out of it with like the rudimentary tools he had at hand. And so it was kind of like, how are we going to make this record sound? Are you up for it? And it was like we heard the demo and we were like, yeah, okay. So we got a studio, and then Andrew handled all the engineering and mixing duties. And there's I've never heard anybody complain about the mix on Mondo Medicale, so I'm assuming he did a really good job, right? And so I think people hopefully can remember that, and that like there was that he did have that work ethos, and live he jumped right in and was an aggressive player live with us, and he brought so much to me as a person, just in my growth as a musician, and really pushing me to like the songs I wrote along with him. He was helping me hone it in and become a better guitar player to do that kind of stuff. And so I hope so people remember that about Andrew, that he just like he did give it his all, and he definitely like was an important part of the death metal scene, however briefly he was a part of it.
Yeah, and when with this demo, that was the demo that was recorded before Mondo Medicale, were you shipping this? Were you kind of shopping this demo to labels? Is this what labels heard? And
No, we were already on Necropolis Records at the
yeah,
time. We had I think with Dead Shall Dead Remain, we maybe signed the worst contract in the history of music contracts,
mhm,
and had a 3 album deal with them, and realized very quickly we needed to get the hell out of it because it was a bit of a sinking ship at the time. It was like kind of on the rise, and then there was a shuffling of administration, and it started going downhill really fast. And so we renegotiated our contract, and Mondo Medicale was going to be the last original we gave them, along with one more EP. And the demo was really, I think, more for us to like digest the material. I mean, I
sure.
think everybody band, at least tries to get like, some kind of like rehearsal recordings and stuff like that. But I think because Dead Shall Dead Remain, as charming as it is quite a hot mess of drunken decisions
Mhm.
and not really understanding what the hell we were doing. So we were really trying to come back with this next record and, really go in on it. So really, in some ways, that record, Mondo Medicale, was kind of the demo to get onto another label. So we had to have all our ducks in a row. And the demo was a way to do that. It was to make sure we really liked the material, we liked how it was going to sound, and the kind of tones we were getting. And that was because we were going to be doing it ourselves, so we had to make sure we, didn't fuck it up. So,
Is this Insidious record deal that you keep referencing? Is this
mhm.
something you'd like to rant about, or is it something you kind of want to leave in the past?
I mean, I definitely have ranted about it, and I will rant out about it again, mostly as a cautionary tale.
Yeah,
Not a whole lot we can do about it. There's we've tried to work it out with the last remaining person who has any kind of like legal things in it. It's not gone well. It
yeah,
seems to start well, it doesn't go well. Hey, if you're listening, I'd love for it to go well, but all the interactions in the past have not been good. So we've consulted lawyers through the years, trying to figure out different ways, and we're just like, somebody just fucking bootleg it because I just don't give a fuck anymore. I just want people to be able to listen to it more than a YouTube video, to be able to spin it. And that was also the demo Metacall was like kind of like searching for a way that people could sort of own the record and buy it from the band again. It's different, but it's not so different that it's like, we had all the artwork left over because we did it all ourselves, from those photo sessions. And so I was able to pick like, stuff that we hadn't used, and including like some candid shots of the band, like kind of goofing around in the back, and kind of include that stuff. So it's like almost as good as owning like a really good vinyl press of Mondo Medicale, until we can figure that out. Until someone will come to the table with good intentions.
so you say it's almost as good as owning a copy of Mondo Medicale. I'm curious, just in a purely musical sense, what are the kind of primary differences to your ear between Mondo and the same songs that are on this demo?
Well, there's obviously okay. So there's a couple of the songs that we held in reserve for an EP, and there was a song that we wrote in the interim between the demo and actually hitting the studio that Andrew wrote, "Raise the Stakes." So that's not on there. These other two songs are on there. There was also like the process. We got that the demo's just these songs. There's a few riff changes, not super noticeable, but it was like things like that was part of the point of doing this. Was like, oh, okay, actually, I think that's kind of a filler riff. Maybe I could write something a little better for this part, right? But then also like just the ordering of the songs and the thought process, because of course, Mondo Medicale, we did these fun little skits and intros and stuff, and so we are kind of like just feeling all that out and trying to put together the record we wanted to be able to put out.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, you're putting this out on Tankcrimes. I've had Scotty on the show before. Great guy, great label. How did that,
Chipper.
yeah,
He's a chipper guy.
the chipper guy. How did that connection come to be? Were you kind of putting this idea of putting this demo out to different labels and Tankcrimes was one said yes, we'll do it, or how did you go about that?
Well, I've known Scotty for probably probably met him around the time this demo or when we recorded this demo. Like he
Mhm.
was a young punk kid in San Francisco who I
Mhm.
heard made buttons. So he was like the guy. I was like, yeah, like 25 cents a button. I need a bag for going on tour to like need these like little things to sell. And he was there. So that's initially how I met him. And then he also played in some bands, like Boatsack, and we played a bunch of shows with them and some other bands he's played with through the years before he really the label became his full-time thing. And and then I worked with Scotty at a screen print shop that I still work at. Scotty has moved on and does label full time. So we actually worked out a deal with Impaled already to do The Last Gasp. He did the exclusive vinyl press on that because Lilitip didn't do any vinyl. And that went well. And we're like, hey, it's let me do the math. Um, like 12 years later, you want to do another Impaled record perhaps? And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, he's just an old friend that we've worked with through the years, and he's a great guy. I like the way he runs his label because it's just a handshake deal with a dude I know.
Yeah.
And it's no bullshit. And the numbers are good. And he likes to only work with friends because he wants to keep things friendly. So like everybody on that label is somebody he knows
Yeah.
that he hangs out with, at a fest and stuff, and like and keeps contact with it. And it's like it he's kept it. It's gotten bigger, but he's kept it small to a comfortable level where it's a cool label to work with, and it's cool to be part of that family.
Are you friends with other people on the label, like like Nick Crott and bands like
Oh
that?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's because Scotty's from like the Bay Area. Of course, there's going to be a lot of bands from the Bay Area on there
Yeah.
because that's who a lot of his friends are. So yeah, toured with I've known the guys in Necrot before Necrot existed. I knew Sonny from way back, and there's other bands, and Luca as well, and and Chad. And we've toured with those guys. I toured with them when I was with Exhumed, and we had I think we were touring around Thanksgiving, so we rented a house and we cooked a gigantic Thanksgiving feast together. And like it's like all solid people, and of course, like Scotty's worked with Municipal Waste a ton over the years, and just yeah, he's always like just dealing with cool people that like I can respect because I respect him.
When I talked to Scotty, he talked about Tankcrimes starting out as mainly a punk label, but kind of
Yeah,
over time branching out into more metal stuff. I mean, you yourself kind of mentioned that you wanted to be like this metal band, but with a punk ethos.
yeah.
How much, being on a punk, inspired label, how much does punk play into your music? How much of an influence is it to you?
I mean, I think it's a big influence. It probably doesn't come through all that much because we're tuning our guitars down and sounding like the Cookie Monster over it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is like there's like as much like Agnostic Front and Dead Kennedys in the influences there is like Carcass and At the Gates and things like that. There's it's all and especially I think if you want to see how it comes through, it's like live is probably the way that like the dipshit things I've done live, jumping into crowds and hanging from rafters and stuff like that. I've just always thought metal should have as much of that energy as punks bring to the table, and
Mhm.
because that's what I love to see, and I love to see bands that go like just they look so excited by their music, and I think got a lot of that from punk rock and that kind of energy as opposed to like just the too cool for school. Like I'm just going to stand on stage and
Yeah.
let my hair sway in front of my face. No, I want somebody to look like an idiot and be like excited by what they're doing.
So what do you say to like the kids that they go to like black metal shows and just kind of stand in the back and want to look as stoic as possible?
Well, I don't want to. I'm not going to be the one to like shit on the way someone experiences something and enjoys something because I don't want to be that kind of old guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, if you're sitting in the back, I'm like, I'm not going to say you're doing things the way I would do them, but you're living your life. You do your thing.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to go to that kind of a show anyways because it's a little boring. But hey, I like some black metal. I like like stuff like that. But I just I come from a background where I want everything to be very like kind of fast and intense. It's kind of like I think it was uh like Chuck D was talking about like the in hip hop he was talking about he's like you get this kind of crazy rap that's like very intense from like the guys who grew up in the suburbs in New York, and then you got like the slow gangsta shit from the guys who are actually suffering under gunfire in Compton
Yeah.
because they want to chill. And so I don't know. Maybe it's a bit of angst and stuff, but I've got a pretty chill life, and I want to get fucking crazy with my music. So
I love that. You've been sipping on the old fashioned. How's it hitting? How's it hitting?
oh, it's hitting good. I got a nice Luxardo cherry in there too. Like
Hell
I'm
yeah.
upping my game, getting a little fancier.
Okay.
There's a little one and a half whiskey, one and a half bourbon, one sweet vermouth, and some nice bitters, and you've got a nice cocktail to wind down the day.
So I've been sober for a couple years. I used to drink a lot.
So you should not have this to wind down today.
No, but I did want to say that that was I either an old fashioned or Manhattan was what I wanted, was what I would order from the bar all the time. I've heard that there is a such thing as good NA whiskey. I have not tried it, but maybe someday I'll get curious and
They're
maybe
make
any
they're
guys.
making they are making strides. I know Exhumed. Nobody in Exhumed is like quit drinking,
Yeah,
but we always get NA beer on the rider now because it's there and it's just like it's a fun, pleasant thing to like drink with your friends. It's kind of that kind of taste that you want, and the shit has gotten like really convincing with the taste. And I think there's like hop waters and stuff. So I mean, like I would try that shit because yeah, it's just kind of like at a certain point it becomes kind of a ritual, and you kind of like get into the flavors and stuff. And I would absolutely try a non-alcoholic whiskey.
I can't speak for every city, but I live in Minneapolis and we have a couple breweries that have jumped on the NA beer train, and it's I had an NA IPA the other day that I couldn't tell the difference between when I used to drink IPAs. It was so
That is a flavorful concoction. IPAs are supposed to be overwhelming with hops, and like to try to get that non-alcoholic, that's pretty impressive.
Mhm. Well, you've been, very busy lately, primarily with Exhumed for a long time, but
Yeah,
Impaled hasn't put out a new full length since 2013. It says on your MA page that you are active. Are there talks maybe something recording something new at some point?
there is, and we played a couple shows already this year. Like
Yeah.
I my guarantee is Impale plays at least one show a year.
Okay.
And we have a rehearsal studio that we share with like a couple of our other projects. So it's really just us. We can do shit whenever we want. There's just life, there's busyness, there's interest. It's like, we keep like talking about some more shows this year. It gets a little bit harder and harder to kind of like get the schedules to like line up. For some of the folks, and I don't blame them at all. Like people should have their lives and be doing their thing. I've managed to stay pretty busy with Exhume, which has been awesome. Really glad. I definitely questioned rejoining that if I had enough time on my hands, and now it's become like the main project, and it's a lot of fun to be doing that. I would love. Impale's probably never ever going to tour again, but who knows? There's been work on some material. It's a matter of like making it happen, and I don't know, maybe a little kick in the ass, like actually getting a release again out. We'll see.
Yeah. You have referred to Exhumed as world's okayest death metal band. What do you mean by
I know it's
that?
pretty good. I think you're miss. There's a quote. I'm the world's okayest bass player.
Okay. Okay. That's the
Just
quote.
me. Matt and Baz are great guitar players.
Yeah.
Mike is one of the best drummers in death metal, like very underrecognized for his like tempo and like ability to pull off shit. Like to be like a technical tech death drummer from Deeds of Flesh, but also still do the D beats with all the heart and soul that he pulls off and Exhumed, right? They're all fantastic. I'm just skating by because I got this pig gurgle that nobody else seems to be able to do. So
I
I'm
remember
okay at bass.
I remember reading the I think it came out last year. I remember reading the decibel write up on gore metal. Were you surprised by that write up? Like, what did you think of it?
I thought the write up was great. I like you never know what they're gonna do. I mean, I guess gore metal is like it's not like it hit super hard at the time, but I guess it's like in retrospect, there definitely wasn't anything, there wasn't much coming out like that. Mostly from like Europe and stuff. There wasn't like a lot of American bands like really kind of doing the overtly stupidly gory kind of shit that we were pulling up. And of course, there was like Cannibal Corpse, and they have the cool Vincent Locke paintings and like making gory lyrics and stuff. But like the kind of more tongue in cheek horror, like horror kind of thing, and like and you know, a chainsaw covered in guts and that kind of like over the top bullshit, like that we were kind of like. If these bands are going to be gross, we're going to be the grossest, and like that kind of like childish shit. So I was definitely pleasantly surprised when they were like, "Oh, it's going to be in the hall." I was like, "Neat, cool, that's awesome." And even though I could barely ever listen to that record because all I can hear are the mistakes and flubs and the things that I wish I'd done and the drama we had at the time, but it definitely made me reevaluate not only the place where that record fits um, in general in the public, but also what it meant to me to like experience that, even though it was trying and it was hard and it was kind of the record that got me kicked out of the band amongst other issues we were having. Uh, but I can be more at peace with that now, and it's a pretty cool feeling.
I'm always interested, like when how musicians react to having something they did be kind of seen as like a classic. Like, is that a weird feeling?
It's try not to think about it too much because it's going to make me feel too old.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm still out here rocking out. We're making Zoom's recording a new record right now. I'm like, oh, it's a classic. Sure, let's go. Move on. Let's do this. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that attitude. Yeah, just like don't think about it too much.
No, I don't want to think about it too much. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm more worried about like finishing the recording on the next record. That's what I got to think about because that's what's new to me. That's what's fun. I want to keep popping until I'm 6 feet under. I don't want to ever stop.
Well, Ross, I don't want to keep you for too much longer, but I do want to thank you, of course, for joining the show. Before I let you go, I want you to be able to tell everyone where they can find this demo Medicale, where they can buy it. If you want to plug in the Exhume stuff, go for it. Floor is yours.
Yeah, the Demo Medicale is available right now, possibly in some record stores near you, if they're cool. Definitely through tankcrimes.com.
Mhm.
Pick it up, enjoy it, because it sounds good. It sounds pretty fucking good. It's not Mondo Medicale, but it's like, you know, like that. But it's also just a fun piece of history, and at least our history, if you're interested in Impaled. Exhumed will be we're gearing up for a big next year and recording right now. We've got big plans and we're gonna hit you all with it later. So
Yeah.
go to our look for Exhumed link tree, subscribe to all of our socials and check out our YouTube, kind of uploading old footage there when I got the time to do it and having fun with that too.
Cool. Well, as always, thank you to my patrons for keeping the show running. Look out for Demo Medicale. Like you said, go to Tankcrimes or find it at a record store, buy the record. For everyone watching at home, keep it metal. My name is Maddie, aka Beaver Mosh.
Thank
Bye.
you, Maddie.
Thank you.
Bye.